Pavlich in for Sean. And tonight, two judges who seemingly thought they were above the law are now under arrest. In Wisconsin, Circuit Court Judge Hannah Dugan was taken into custody by the FBI after she was accused of hiding an illegal immigrant from ICE in her jury room. And down south in New Mexico, Magistrate Judge Joel Cano was first barred from the court, then arrested for allegedly harboring an illegal immigrant and suspected gang member in their own home. Both Cano and his wife are now facing felony charges. Here now with full report, Kevin Ford is with us. Kevin, break it all down. Kind of
Hey, crazy stuff. And it's just, you hear stories like this, you just shake your head, but that's where we are in 2025. County Judge Hannah Dugan, as you pointed out, arrested this morning and within hours was making her very first court appearance, charged with concealing an illegal immigrant and obstructing an official proceeding. As you can imagine, protesters were none too pleased. In fact, they gathered outside the Milwaukee County Courthouse shortly after the arrest of the judge, who allegedly helped an illegal immigrant, Eduardo Flores Ruiz, avoid arrest by ICE officers at that courthouse. The criminal complaint against Dugan says, quote, despite having been advised of the administrative warrant for the arrest of Flores Ruiz, Judge Dugan then escorted Flores Ruiz and his counsel out of the courtroom through the jury door, which leads to a non-public area of the courthouse.
I found out about this the day it happened. We could not believe, actually, that a judge really did that. You cannot obstruct a criminal case, and really, shame on her. It was a domestic violence case of all cases, and she's protecting a criminal defendant over victims of crime.
The Attorney General, Pam Bondi, speaking there, meantime, in another case in New Mexico. Another judge appeared in federal court today after being arrested Thursday and charged with tampering with evidence in the investigation of his alleged harboring of an illegal immigrant. Joel Cano resigned in March from his position as a county magistrate judge after federal agents raided his home and took into custody Christian Ortega Lopez, allegedly a member of Trinidad Aragua, as well as two other Venezuelan men, all of whom had been staying as guests in the guest house on Cano's property. By the way, you saw his wife was also arrested in that case. The AG Pam Bondi says she believes these judges are, in her opinion, deranged and consider themselves above the law. Well, tonight, they're probably reconsidering that, Katie.
Hard to believe it's happening in America. Kevin Ford, thank you so much. All right, here now with reaction, Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett and Fox News contributor Hugh Hewitt. So, Greg, let me start with you. I mean, the fact that this judge in Wisconsin was using the official courthouse to help out this criminal alien is just astonishing to people watching.
Yeah, Katie, it is amazing. It's stunning. But you know, it's not just Democrat politicians these days who are agitating to keep alien criminals and gang terrorists here in the U.S. Liberal judges have now happily joined the crusade, and this Wisconsin judge allegedly using a private exit from her own chambers. That's aiding and abetting an illegal migrant's escape from ICE. It's two different kinds of federal obstruction, and there's no viable defense that I can see here. She'll get her day in court. And the New Mexico judge arrested for knowingly harboring in his own home a dangerous TDA terrorist member, giving him access to guns with a suppressor. I mean, the judge has already been kicked off the bench. He's banned for life, but that's the least of his worries. He's looking at obstruction, destroying evidence, harboring an illegal. You know, it is no surprise to see so many leftist judges in their rulings contorting law to protect alien criminals. But when you act as an accessory, you are trading your black robe for an orange jumpsuit. It ain't gonna end well for them.
So, Hugh, I've covered this border issue for many, many years, and I've always been very concerned about the issue of corruption at the border and that seeping its way into the United States judicial system. Here we are now with a judge in Wisconsin, which is not a southern border state, and a judge in New Mexico now being caught up in the situation where, according to Attorney General Pam Bondi, the photos that were found on the phones of these criminal aliens include decapitations, lots of criminal activity, And yet, for some reason, these judges just decided to be involved with these two men. It's hard for me to believe that it was at no cost or that there wasn't some kind of potential bribe for their good-hearted nature of harboring them inside the courtroom or also in their home.
I don't know about New Mexico. I did take the time to read the FBI agents' affidavits who were part of the Wisconsin case. There were 6 members on the ICE team that went to courtroom on the 6th floor of the Wisconsin or the Milwaukee Superior Court building. There were 6. And they talked to Judge Dugan, and she raised her voice, and she sent them away. And then she spirited up in front of there were 8 other proceedings. There was the victim of the illegal aliens' alleged domestic violence was watching. Some of the victim witness assistant who was trying to help the victim out. Everyone saw what happened. It's like there are 20 to 30 witnesses of Judge Dugan leading the defendant in the criminal proceeding through the jury door, out the back door, along with counsel. That is obstruction and concealment. It's 2 felonies. It's 6 years in prison, potentially, and $350,000 fine. Now, I don't think there's any corruption there except ideological. Down there, I don't know. But this up in Wisconsin, as former Governor Scott Walker put out on X not long ago, it's just an ideological blowout of this judge who apparently thought she was above the law. She's not.
So, Greg, this is something that the Trump administration has warned about. Tom Homan has repeatedly said publicly to reporters and in speeches that if you are engaging in obstruction and harboring illegal aliens, we don't care if you're a mayor, we don't care if you're a judge, we are coming after you with charges. And now we're seeing the beginning of that, and I'm sure there will be more to come.
Yeah, Katie, and there's symmetry here, isn't there? Just as there are sanctuary cities, well, what do we see now? Sanctuary judges. They well know that it's a felony to harbor or shield somebody here illegal. 8 U.S.C. 1324. All judges know that one. But they ignore the law and they seemingly violate it with impunity. They think, well, I've got a black room, I sit up on an elevated bench, I get to bang the gavel around. And so I must be above and beyond the law. Well, they're finding out the hard way that they're not. And that's these sanctuary cities. Congress passed a law in 1996 requiring states and cities to cooperate with ICE in deportation requests. And that state law empowers the president to withhold federal funds if they don't do it. And Trump is simply trying to enforce that law. So despite an injunction yesterday by an Obama-appointed judge in San Francisco, the law is squarely on Trump's side. The Ninth Circuit will uphold Oreck's wrongful decision. The Ninth Circuit gets constantly overturned by the Supreme Court. Case goes to the highest court. Trump, I think, wins.
So, Peter, looking at this from a political perspective, I think normal people say, are Democrats trying to commit suicide here and harboring not just illegal immigrants inside an official courthouse, but your home, but violent gang members who, according to the footage on their devices, have committed heinous crimes?
It makes no sense politically. The ascendant left in the Democratic Party, and it's got some smart people in it. Congressman Ro Khanna was online tonight defending the judge in Wisconsin. I haven't seen any Democrats defend the former judge in New Mexico yet, or his wife. That one is a lot more terrorizing to the average person. But the left ascendant in the Democratic Party seems committed to illegal immigrants. They seem committed to gender fluidity and transition. They seem committed to socialism, Bernie and AOC. They're moving left, just like the Democrats did after they lost in 68 and 80. They're moving very far left, and they're moving very far left quickly. It's an 80-20 issue. I would guess if you ask any person in the street, do you think a judge ought to be escorting an illegal immigrant charged with a violent crime out through the jury door, through the back, down to the street to get away from the FBI, ICE, and customs? I think 8 out of 10 people are going to say, no, don't think so. So if she goes to a jury, she better hope that it's got some friends on it, because it is just open and shut.
Well, based on their ideological dedication to this issue, we will probably be seeing more cases like this. Greg, Peter, thank you so much for joining us.
Hope you enjoyed the
So
ride.
today, a Democratic congressman accidentally said the quiet part out loud.
Here we
That Joe
are.
Biden allowed millions of unvetted illegal immigrants into our country, and Democrats want them to stay. Watch.
Yep.
yes, we did a poor job of securing the border, particularly on the asylum laws. I don't necessarily agree with everything that Mr. Haldeman said there, but certainly the asylum laws were wide open, and people took advantage of that. And President Biden didn't do enough to secure the border. A number of us believe that there are a lot of people in this country undocumented who should be allowed to stay. So Democrats want a pathway to citizenship for some undocumented immigrants, and then a lot of us are wide open to talking about toughening the asylum laws and getting to greater security.
Naturally, so-called journalists in the legacy media are happy to uncover for their fellow Democrats. According to the Media Research Center, as of last Friday, CNN and MSNBC used the term Maryland man 506 times when describing the illegal immigrant and suspected gang member who was accused of human trafficking and domestic violence before being deported back to his home country.
Our legal system is a joke.
By the Trump administration. Here now with reaction is Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn. Senator, thank you so much for being with us tonight. So we hear fellow Democrats on Capitol Hill, admitting we want all these illegal immigrants to stay in the country. To me, it signals that they've now found a new constituency just based on the way that they're behaving, including Senator Chris Van Hollen, who shares a chamber with you.
Yes, indeed. They are singing the quiet part out loud. And what we know, Katie, is that they are admitting the intentionality of the Biden administration leaving the border open and the intentionality of the Biden administration trying so hard to make illegal legal.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have the Democrats trying even harder, saying, oh, well, they're here. Let's let them have a pathway to citizenship. And they're completely out of touch with the American people. I talk to Tennesseans every day who
really do not want migrants here, want migrants to go about their funky business, go back to their fucking country, where the fuck they come from. Ain't nothing free over here. Sorry. Ain't nothing free over here.
are wanting to see more deportations. They want to get the criminal illegal aliens out of this country. They want to make certain that those who entered the country illegally are deported.
Yep.
They do not want them to have citizenship.
Nope.
They do not want
Nope.
them to have a path to legalization.
Nope.
And what they want to do is return to the rule of law.
Yep.
And that is why the actions of these judges are just so astounding to most American citizens that they would actually try to take care of an illegal alien before they would do their job of enforcing the law, respecting the rule of law, and standing for the American people first.
Senator, you mentioned these out-of-control judges who keep, stepping in the way, issuing these nationwide injunctions when the president of the executive branch is trying to deport people who simply just walked into the country under Joe Biden and are allowed to stay. So is there something that Capitol Hill can do in terms of bolstering the ability for the executive branch to move more quickly on these deportations without this interference from these activist judges?
Absolutely. Yes, indeed. When you look at Article 3 of the Constitution, there is nothing in there, nor is there anything in statute that gives a judge the right to go in and block and obstruct the work of the executive branch of the president. There is nothing that says they can take these orders that affect the country and do these nationwide injunctions. So we do have legislation that would address that. It's also there in the House. Indeed, when it comes to the border and tightening up on these asylum rules and making certain the money is there, which we are currently doing to secure the southern and the northern border so that we get the illegal entry of these illegal aliens, of drugs, of human trafficking, sex trafficking, under control. Those are actions that we can take. We also can make certain through the process of appropriations and budgeting that there is not money that is going to be allowed to be spent on some of these activities that the Democrats are wanting to put in place, or that these activist judges are wanting to carry out, and we do that through instruction language in the budget. Now, power of the purse is an important thing in Congress, especially when it comes to ensure that people who shouldn't be in the country get deported as quickly as possible. Senator Blackburn, thank you so much. Well, Democrats are treating illegal immigration like a political game, but in reality, American lives are at stake. For example, one illegal immigrant with a long and violent rap sheet in California has been sentenced to life in prison after killing Las Vegas showgirl with a knife because she refused to take a picture with him. And in Florida, an illegal immigrant released into our country by the Biden administration has been arrested for the horrific rape of a 13-year-old boy. These crimes would not have occurred if Democrats enforced America's immigration laws. Joining us now with more is former acting DHS Secretary Chad Wolf. Chad, you're the perfect person to talk to about this. You know, the current Department of Homeland Security describes, you know, the sanctuary cities and these injunctions from these judges keeping these criminal aliens inside American communities as playing Russian roulette with people's lives. And it's very clear that's playing out every single day.
Well, I think that's exactly right. Look, the consequences of that open border during the 4 years of the Biden administration, these are the consequences that we're going to see for the next several years. It doesn't stop just because President Biden left office and his policies are overturned. You have millions of individuals that have come across that border that are here in American communities and that are causing all of the different crimes that you indicated and others. And so we're going to see this continue, unfortunately, play out over these next several years. And again, it's really important to remember that every crime committed by an illegal alien is a preventable crime. They should not be here in the United States. They should not be released into American communities. And you need policies like President Trump and his team are putting in place today that says either we're going to detain you or we're going to remove you back to your home country. That is how you protect Americans, so that you understand who is coming into the country, how they're being vetted, and why they want to come in. Those that need asylum protections and qualify for them can stay. Those that don't need to be removed.
So, Chad, you're not only trying to protect Americans from criminal aliens, but also you have these two outrageous cases of these judges, one in Wisconsin and one in New Mexico, stepping in to protect people like this from deportation, criminal charges. You know, you've worked inside the federal government system. What is your perspective on the fact that not only is it illegal immigration you're now trying to fight, but also people working within the American judicial system to keep these people from getting kicked out of the country?
Well, unfortunately, we've heard about these cases before. Obviously, during my time at DHS, ICE would certainly talk about judges that would actually shield illegal aliens in their courtroom from ICE officers trying to arrest them, trying to remove them out of the country because they're dangerous. And so now I see President Trump and his team and the AG and the Department of Justice actually going after these individuals and these judges who are activists, to be clear. No one is above the law, and I think this is sending the right signal that, look, if you're going to use your courtroom as a way to shield illegal aliens and escort them out the jury door, out of side doors so that they can get away from ICE officials, there's going to be consequences. For far too long, I think judges and others have said, look, I'm untouchable. No one's going to come after me. And I think the Trump administration is doing the right thing that says, look, if you break the law and you shield these individuals and you obstruct ICE officers from doing their job, there's going to be consequences. So I'm happy to see what's going on in both of these cases.
So, Chad, we've seen a lot of these crimes, the horrific crimes happening, and as you said, preventable crimes against innocent people by illegal aliens. But there's also the other aspect of this, where ICE agents are going out to get these guys out of these communities, and that's really dangerous work. And now you have this other layer of this obstruction inside these systems to put those ICE agents at risk when they're going in and trying to remove these very violent criminals and to prevent them from committing these crimes against anyone else. Can you get some insight on the dangerous nature of the job that these agents are doing every day?
Well, absolutely. Look, the best case scenario for ICE to remove individuals is to go into a jail setting, right? So when local jurisdictions have these individuals in custody, allow ICE officers to go into these jail settings. It's very controlled, obviously, and then they're able to remove these individuals. The most dangerous part of their job is to actually go into the communities once they're released from jail, to go into these communities and try to locate them. They don't know who is around them. They don't know who's behind that door. They don't know if they have weapons. All the regular things that you would think that law enforcement is concerned about. Now ICE is obviously concerned about the same thing. And so anytime that you have these operations that are publicized or leaked, anytime that you have any of this going on, it's putting these officers in danger and at risk. And every time they go into a community, that's why you need many more officers just to locate one illegal alien. So it's much easier, it's much safer for not only the ICE officer, but the illegal alien and the community members to do that in a jail setting. And I think that's why Tom Homan and others talk so passionately about these sanctuary jurisdictions that don't allow them to do that. And if they did, you would see the ICE officers being a lot safer in their job duties, and you would see a lot more individuals being removed.
It's outrageous, and they certainly have their work cut out for them. We're grateful that they do very dangerous work. Thank you so much. Good to see you. All right, coming up, it's no secret the Democrats are
What's down with John Boy?
afloat, and now